Welcome back to our corner office, downtown Winston-Salem. We are back up and running.
Omnivera Studios at Liberty Plaza. Omniverous.com.
Tim Beeman and Everett Hutto, and then Bijan Todd on a very tight schedule. He is out recruiting, scouting for the Wizards draft. And I'm talking.
So I'm trying out for the team. They need me.
There you go,
Couldn't
Blake.
hurt.
Yeah.
I know. It couldn't hurt. I'll be better than half the players on their roster.
What pick did you guys get?
6.
Oh, my
18
God.
wins
18 wins and you
pick.
get 6th pick?
That's why that lottery is stupid.
Yeah, it is stupid. Dallas gets number 1.
That's right. On a 1.8% chance.
It's
Well, thank you
rigged.
for reminding me. I'd forgotten
definitely.
it for 12 seconds, and I was actually happy.
No, that is beat up, man. Like that.
That's beat up.
So, Bijan, you'll know this, and so I'm going to ask you because I've honestly forgotten. What is the reason for having the lottery, like instead of just having the worst team pick number 1?
So it is intended to de-incentivize tanking. So
That works.
Because there's so much like opportunity to tank in the NBA more so than there is in the NFL with 82 games. So you flatten out the odds so that the 3 worst teams all have the same chance of getting the number 1 pick. But there are chances for like the top 8 worst teams to get number 1, which is the reason that the Dallas Mavericks ended up getting the number 1 pick on a 1.8% chance. But this is I mean, honestly, if you think about it, it kind of worked for the NBA because the teams that like were the worst did not get rewarded for being the worst.
Yeah.
So in a way, it worked.
Yeah, except teams still tank.
They still tank, and also like it's like doing it this way where like Dallas and San Antonio get the top 2 picks, and like Atlanta got number 1 last year, and they were like the 6th worst team. It doesn't make the worst teams better. You know what I mean?
Well,
To have,
that's
like,
the point. That's
Yeah.
the idea of the draft is the worst teams are supposed to get the highest picks so that they get better.
Exactly. There's a movement to abolish the lottery now after all this happened. I don't think it's going to happen though.
Yeah, it's just fun because the NBA, and I know I've said this before because the only team I care about in the NBA is the Hawks, and that's almost as bad as being a Wizards fan, is that the Hawks typically are good enough to not have a top draft pick, but not good enough to be good. So they're stuck in perpetual 13th or 14th spot all the time.
That's the Hornets disease. Being in limbo happens all the time.
Yeah.
You got to the only way to get out of that is to tank, honestly, and try to get a top pick.
But speaking of Hornets, like, when will they ever get, or when will they ever draft like an NBA MVP?
Or just an NBA
Brandon
player.
Miller could be that dude.
SGA, they drafted him and gladly sent him.
Didn't they draft Kobe?
And Kobe, that.
Did they?
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, they got Brandon Miller. He might be the closest thing you guys have to that at some point.
I'm pulling hard for him, but God, it's tough. You especially see SGA and what he's done, and you're like, oh, what did we get for him? Or what did Charlotte get? I'm a Celtics fan. What do we get from? What did Charlotte get from him?
What did they get?
Pack of abs.
And he was drafted by I thought he was drafted by the Clippers, but you're right, he was drafted by the Hornets. Let's see how that happened.
Yeah.
So
What did they get
overall
for
by the Hornets in 2018, traded to the Clippers on the same day for the pick after him, which ended up being Miles Bridges and 2 future second-round picks. So you traded an MVP for a domestic abuser and 2 nobody.
Well, that's just bad front office work.
Yep. Well,
Yeah, that's pretty
jump
bad.
in line.
Par for the course for it.
Yeah, Charlotte.
But then the Clippers had Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, and they traded him to the Thunder in addition to like a million picks for only Paul George in return. So there's a bunch of things that happened.
Paul George, how'd that work out?
Not well, Chief.
Yeah.
Well, it's kind of like in trades are always interesting to look back for, and I know we're off script early, but it's kind of interesting to see because like the Hawks a couple of years ago, whatever year the draft class was when they got Trae Young, drafted Luka Doncic, but knew they were trading with the Mavericks who were going to choose Young, and so they traded the picks essentially, even though they made the picks essentially for the other team.
Why do that?
I don't know. I don't have the answer to that. But you look at it and you go, well, you got Trae Young for Luka Doncic. That doesn't seem to be a very good deal now. Although at the time, you didn't really know what Luka Doncic was. And
An asshole.
Trae Young's still not a bad player. I mean, he's fine, but I don't know. It's just trades like that when you look back and you go, you got this person for this person. You're going, man, we probably should have kept the other one. But again, imperfect science. You don't know what's going to happen.
That's like the best part is like redrafting and see who would have gone where. But like it's totally like a crapshoot because you have no idea who's going to be like a lock to be an amazing player. You know what I mean?
Cooper Flagg, they say, is a lock to be an amazing player.
Well, they said that about Zion. Did they not?
They did.
Yeah, they did.
They did.
They just can't ever to get
But
healthy.
and he might be like Zion, if healthy or when healthy, is a very good player.
Absolutely.
Problem is
Dominant
he's
player.
he's never healthy.
Right. That's it. That is just frustrating because I saw them the first time I saw him. Hello, come on in. I saw him for the first time when he played Wake as I mean he was one and done, right?
Right.
And I'm like, this guy just takes over. I'm like, even I said on this podcast, right, Tim? I'm like, I will trade everything if I am Charlotte or Boston. Say I want Zion because that kid is like, something that would flip the whole script.
And he would if he were healthy.
Healthy, right?
Yeah.
And I don't know if he has. Does he have
Like
this?
he was the.
Go ahead, Bijan.
I'm sorry, Ty. I was going to say he was the biggest lock, quote unquote, to be like an amazing player since LeBron, right? So you have like I don't know, what was that? 17 years of like mediocre to good players going number one, and then Zion, who's like generational. He doesn't end up panning out. Then you have Wembanyama like 3 years later, who is looking like he's going to pan out, and then you have Cooper Flagg 2 years after Wembanyama. You know what I mean?
So
These
a
are
lot
the
of
guys who like,
generational talents in one generation.
yeah, exactly. And that's the point though, is that like only a few of these guys are going to pan out, and even the guys who are considered to be locks like Zion and potentially like Cooper Flagg might not end up panning out.
Yeah, I mean, health is a big. What do they say? The best ability is availability, right? And so, yeah, you got to be healthy. You got to stay healthy. You got to avoid injuries. And the problem, I don't know if the problem's the right word, but one of the things about professional sports right now is that people are bigger, faster, and stronger.
Right.
So any collision or any injury tends to be more serious than it was prior. And with load management and everything else, people are taking games off and people are trying to not play as much. And I don't know if I really wonder, and I don't know, I guess it would take some sort of study, although I don't know how you would do the study. But in the 70s and 80s, when people were playing all the time, playing, 80 games of the 82, if they didn't play all 82, I mean, how many games did Larry Bird take off? How much load management did he do?
Shit, he would be on the sideline with his back hurt and just like trying to get
back
it out.
in.
Yeah,
Right. Did those people get injured more or less than people now? I mean, certainly there were injuries back then. Sam Bowie's a good example, number one pick, taken before Michael Jordan, and
Number two.
Oh,
Hakeem
he's
Olajuwon was number one.
Okay, Olajuwon won, Bowie too, but taken before Jordan is my point. And
who's this Jordan kid?
he got hurt. Like he never panned out because he never played. And so you get that in every generation, but how much is it happening more? Is it happening less with people? Is it just talked about more? Is it actually happening more? I don't know.
Right.
Because you can always go back and find people who got hurt, but more or less at this point.
And that is a segue to one of our topics is, yes, SJA got MVP and he's not American born. He's from Canada. What's that all about? And is there an issue with the United States now with how they did? I know, Tim. I'm with you. Is there an issue with the United States and how they develop their talent? And I think starting to get down to what we've all said for a long time: the AAU. Yeah. It's shit.
I actually do think there's something to that. Like, I'm not going to blame it all on AAU.
Yeah.
But I think the mentality of it's all about me. As long as I get my points, and as long as I get my stats. The hell with the team. It's just egocentric. I think
golf,
does have a problem.
Not basketball. Yeah.
Well, I think that is a problem, and I think you see it in some other sports too. But it's just more noticeable in basketball because in basketball, one person can affect the game more than in other sports. Like a superstar, especially two superstars, and certainly three, you get a good team. Whereas I'm going to use the Pacers as an example.
Right.
Those team-oriented teams, you don't see that as much. And I think we went through a period where it was all about the guy and having one guy. I think it's coming around, though. I think with the success of the Pacers and some of these kids that you haven't really heard of as much, I think it might be coming around. I think we might be seeing, you know what, you do need to play. You do need to play together. You do need to play team basketball, and it can't just be one guy.
Yep.
At least I hope that's the
entirely
case.
roster construction too, because like the Celtics won it last year when they had like 10 different guys who were all contributing to the same goal. And the teams that are these super teams where they pay like two guys a collective $600 million aren't working out, essentially. Right? Because who are the teams that do that? The Sixers, who were in the lottery. They got the number 3 pick. A bunch of other teams.
Well, part of that is because
but it worked for like
injuries, but yeah.
It worked for like 5 years. Like when LeBron went to the Heat, and then you had the Golden State with Durant, Curry, and Thompson. You had it for a while, and there was like a 5-year window where the super team that you needed 2 or 3 stars, and you were in the playoffs and in the finals. But now it's kind of gone away. What the Nets did a couple of years ago, you know, you talk about the Sixers now, and even who was the Suns. Those teams imploded. They got their 3 stars, but they've fallen apart. So the script or the blueprint has proven not to be as successful as it was a few years ago.
And there's a clear turning point on that too, because they introduced a new CBA a few years ago, right after the Warriors finished their dynasty, literally with the hopes of stopping dynasties like that and stopping super teams.
Yep.
And it worked, because this year we're going to have the 7th consecutive non-repeat NBA champion.
Yep.
So the CBA was designed so that super teams cannot be constructed at the front office level. You can't pay 2 dudes $1 billion or 4 dudes $1 billion and then not really have anybody else and win a title. There's the second apron where if you hit the second apron, which I think for every team is like $210 million a year in like collective salary, you get penalized very, 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 very harshly, right? And it makes you harder to retain your own players, and you actually have to give up draft picks if that happens. So that's like what every team is really worried about now.
And
Hence
aren't the
Pacers are doing
Celtics
so well.
aren't the Celtics up against that?
Yeah, they are. They're going to have to get rid of a lot of their pieces in this offseason because they can't afford to pay Tatum, Brown, Porzingis, Derek White, Peyton Pritchard, all these guys that much money. And so they're going to have to tear it down.
Yeah, that was
Tear it down, y'all.
that was what
Word.
that was one of the articles about this could be the last run for them. And then of course Tatum gets injured and so we'll see. It'll be interesting. It'll be interesting to see how they address that. So,
But to your point about Gilgeous-Alexander, the 7th straight, and we talk about 7th straight year of no repeat champion, 7th straight year with the MVP is a non-US born. And I don't know. I think there is something to be said, but I mean, France has had a couple of them. But I think for the most part, it's been different nationalities for, like I said, other than a couple of French players, it's been different nationalities. So it's still the U.S. has the biggest crop of players just because the majority of players are U.S. born.
right.
But yeah, I think basketball is changing a little bit. And I really hope it changes even more from this 3-point shooting
that's so
exhibition because
yeah.
the Celtics lost out. And last night, the Knicks got into shooting. Or no, it wasn't the Knicks. It was the night before. It was Minnesota that shot all the 3-pointers and only shot like 27%. And it's like 3-pointers are great if you're making them. But when you're not.
I know. I just I feel like there should be, it's always a balance. Like I feel just like how if you're able to run the ball in football, that opens up for the passing. I think the same way it's been said for basketball. If you're hitting outside shots, that means inside is going to be also a possibility because they're going to worry about your outside shots. You can get into the interior and work with the easy two. because of
analytics,
they say, well, if you take threes, it makes more sense. The gamble's worth your while. But I want a team to
do both,
and just run shop. I don't know if I could do that if it was the Lakers that went against the grain, but I would definitely applaud that style.
That's why the game last night, the Pacers-Knicks game, was so satisfying to watch, because it was literally 45 minutes of attacking the rim, really good ball movement, really good defense, until the end when Aaron Nesmith was forced to hit like a billion threes in a row because they were down by 14 with like 2 minutes left. At that point, you have to chuck up threes, and it worked. But like the entire game was amazing basketball. It was incredible.
Yep, I agree.
What do we think? So since we're on the playoffs, OKC is the only number 1 seed. So we've got a little bit of parity in that. I think the Pacers and Knicks are 3, 4, and Minnesota's like a 6 seed. So you've got the top seeds did not go through. Good or bad for basketball?
Good.
Very good.
Very good. I agree. I mean, because I hate the Celtics. So
it's good for basketball.
Hate's not the
it
right
might
word.
be bad.
If I wasn't a Celtics fan, they're all right.
It's great for basketball. It might be bad for Adam Silver.
It's definitely bad for Adam Silver because this OKC Indianapolis final is not going to attract.
If it was the Knicks and the Hawks, do you know how big of a Hawk fan I would be right now?
Oh, I know. Everybody would because nobody likes the Knicks. But that's the thing. And that's kind of what sports leagues want. Like they want you to have a rooting interest. Yeah. And so if your team's not in, they want you rooting against somebody. So Boston, New York, and LA, all the places that nobody likes. But honestly, if you're not from Boston, New York, or LA, you don't root for those teams.
That's a fact.
Well, not necessarily. There's a lot that because like if you have any like grew up in the 80s or whatever and you saw Bird and you become a fan.
Or you were a Lakers fan. Or you rooted for the Pistons because you hated both of them.
Yeah.
Or the Bulls.
See, I also rooted for the Bulls because
of Jordan. Right?
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't help it.
You're a front runner, I know.
No, I know. I felt like I go back and look. I'm like, Jesus, you were like the LeBron fans. I was always a Celtics fan, but I saw Jordan, and I'm like, this guy is not human. And I remember telling my godfather, I was like, listen, I'm a Celtics fan, but man, I love Jordan. And he had to take it. He was like, all right, fine. Did I root for the Bulls over the Celtics? It was iffy sometimes, but like,
because you knew the Bulls were going to win. So what's the point of being on the losing side?
Jordan of course, took over, and it was almost a religion.
See, I can't root for the Celtics because they cost Atlanta at least 2 trips to the final.
Yeah,
one I can think of vividly, but
the Hawks.
The Hawks back in the late 80s,
God,
when they had Dominique and Kevin Willis and Doc Rivers and had some players, they were pretty good.
They were fun to watch.
They could never get past Boston.
That was the first time I'd ever watched basketball, so I pulled for the Hawks.
The best dunker,
we didn't
Dominique Wilkins.
They just could never get past Boston.
I love Dominique Wilkins.
And
I love Spud Webb.
That game where Larry Bird and Dominique Wilkins traded points in the fourth quarter. Yeah. Like they were literally the only 2 people playing. It was 1-on-1. The other 8 guys just got out of the way.
Didn't Dominique's brother play with him? Gerald played with him a little bit.
I think he did.
He was playing with the Knicks.
Short time. It's Gerald. He definitely played for the Knicks. I believe he had a cup of coffee in Atlanta.
Steve Wilkins.
Online too. Did his brother play? What? Steve?
Oh, you mean Steve?
Y'all Steve Dallin. Those were good NBA matchups. And then the early 90s with the Knicks and the Pacers rivalry too.
Well, and that's what this series Pacers Knicks reminds me of. And I told you in an email a couple of weeks ago, it's like, can we get Spike Lee and Reggie Miller together? I guess both were at the game last night, right? Were they?
Yeah.
Well, Reggie was because he
was calling it. I assume Spike was there just because he's usually there. And I don't know. I kind of want to. They did a documentary on that. ESPN did 30 for 30 winning time. Was that it? Mm-hmm. Where they talked about it?
Incredible.
Did they ever get Spike Lee and Reggie Miller together in that? Like, do we know how they feel about each other now?
I don't think they got them together for that, but I'm sure they've like high five, like they've shaken hands since then, right?
Yeah.
I would imagine. I
They
mean,
don't have
even,
a whole lot to fight about now.
right. And even still,
Yeah.
you've got to, it's one of those things where, yeah, you talked a lot of shit during the competition, but once the competition's over and you go, dude, I respect you. You're great. Whatever.
Yeah.
I don't think there's like true animosity between them, but there might be. I don't know.
Nah, I doubt it. That would be an interesting rabbit hole, though. What like celebrity versus athlete beefs are legit, where they actually hate each other?
Well, I don't know of very many celebrity
Yeah.
versus athlete. I mean, that's like the biggest one I can think of. Who else do you think of when you think of?
There's got to be something.
I mean, I know Jack Nicholson hated the Celtics and gave the Celtics a lot of shit in the 80s, but I don't know that any of it was, real.
I didn't know he did that.
Oh yeah, he was a big Laker guy. Yeah, he was at all the Laker games.
But he would like talk to the Celtics when they were like hustling up. To the
Yeah, he talked smack on the sidelines because he had pretty good seats.
Yeah, he was courtside just like Spike.
Yeah.
I went to a Frank Caliendo show in DC on Tuesday.
Oh,
he did an
nice. There you
amazing Jack Nicholson. He did a hilarious Jack Nicholson.
Sure he did.
I was like Christian Slater's Jack Nicholson because a lot of people said he was our generation's Jack Nicholson, and he said that he was he had filmed a movie with Jack Nicholson, and they were at a club, and the girl walked up and said to Jack Nicholson, "Do you want to dance?" And he said, "Wrong verb." They hear him say, "Wrong verb."
Did Caliendo do his Morgan Freeman?
Yeah, that was like half the show.
Nice.
It was a lot of Trump and Biden, Morgan Freeman. He did a hilarious Al Pacino. He did a great Charles Barkley too, which was hilarious.
Really?
It wasn't
It was an
terrible.
amazing scene. Terrible.
Tat. Mel Kiper was great. But yeah, I mean, again with the parody, I think as Nate Silver would be a little bit, worried because you might have Oklahoma City,
Indianapolis final.
but at the same time, it does make it nice for parody.
But I think it's better basketball. Like, I think if you're looking for basketball, in good basketball, Indianapolis and OKC are pretty good. Like,
Well, yeah, remember-
there's not as many stars.
Right.
There's not stars. It's not, New York, Boston, and LA. But the basketball would be good.
Well, I remember they used to, the media heads would get all upset, or not upset, but they would just be like, when the Spurs would beat the Lakers. It was like, they'd be like, no one's going to watch this. And I was like, well, if you're a fan of basketball, you would like this because it's good ball movement. And they use not only the 3-point play, they also go interior a la Duncan. So it's like, if you don't like basketball and you just want to have like the glamour and the glitz, I get it. But if you actually are basketball people,
Formula One for that.
if you like basketball, like apparently these talking heads are apparently do, then you would love the fact that the Spurs are in the championship because they play good basketball, a good brand of basketball. And it was great when they took on the Heat and beat the Heat because the Heat was this Marvel superhero team, and the Spurs were going to just go to their X and O's.
Right. All right, let's jump quickly into the NHL. We probably won't spend too much time with hockey, but when I had sent you the email last night, Edmonton was ahead 3-1 in the third period and looked like we were going to get a repeat of last year's final. But then Dallas decided, to go crazy in the third period, score 5 goals, and turn that narrative on its head.
Is that what happened, or did Edmonton just stop playing?
I don't know which it was, but I'm giving the 5 goals credit.
Well, 4 of them because one was an empty net.
Okay. 4 goals credit. But we came into these playoffs and I was talking about thinking Dallas was probably the team because I thought the Central was the better division. But Edmonton had been playing really well. What do you think, Bijan? Dallas, I just feel like that's probably going to catapult them through, or do you think Edmonton's going to come back?
I think Edmonton's going to come back. I don't know if they're going to win the series and come back. I think they'll come back to make it a hell of a series.
Yeah.
Dallas is just such a hard place to play in, though. Like, if you watch those games, their fans are standing and screaming the entire time. And they flashed a stat on the broadcast last night that was crazy. That was the Stars have scored a power play goal at home every single game in the playoffs, which is absurd.
It really is.
So I don't know. I mean, it'll be interesting to see.
Yeah, I think it's a good series. I don't know. I felt pretty good about the way Edmonton was playing, and then they just, like Tim said, they just kind of collapsed in that third period. And I don't know if that's good Dallas or bad Edmonton, but I feel like if you're the Oilers now, immediately game one is the least important game in the series, but I feel like you let one slip away.
Right.
And they're saved by the fact they still got their entire slate of home games coming up. Like Dallas needed to win that game more than Edmonton did.
Yeah.
But still, I don't know.
But still,
I mean,
you want to win one on the road. You want to get one, and that was very gettable.
Definitely.
It was in their hands, clearly.
Yeah.
Do you think the Canes have a fighting chance to beat the Panthers?
I do, unfortunately, because I hate the Hurricanes. But they are such a good team. I know that the first game was like an anomaly because they lost, 5-1 in game one?
5-2, yeah.
To the Panthers? Yeah. That was crazy. The Panthers are a freaking wagon, first of all. They're an amazing team. But Carolina also is one of those teams that we talked about 2 weeks ago. They'll just beat you via attrition. They'll just pepper you with shots and hope that one of them goes in and crash the net. And that's a recipe for success. Now, the Panthers are a lot better than the Capitals, but I think that Carolina can push this series to at least 6, maybe 7, and then from then we'll see what happens. But Florida winning game one in Carolina is huge.
Yeah, I'm a little concerned about the Canes, only because Florida has figured something out. Mm-hmm. Like, since they got down 2-0 to Toronto, they've now won 5 of their last 6, and they're playing really well. It's like, it's not a must-win for Carolina tomorrow night. It's tomorrow night or tonight?
It's tonight.
Tonight. It's not a must-win because it's not an elimination game, but it's a really need to win.
Yeah.
Like, you're at home.
You
not home.
really need not to be 0-2 going to Florida.
Yeah.
Definitely not. What made the Canes so good to beat the Caps?
Like I said, like they'll pepper you with shots. They're so good on power play and penalty kill too. And also the Caps, I don't know. The Caps just had something about them that was not like a Eastern Conference final team. Like they were missing one of their best defenders, and they had to sub up this guy Alexiev, who was not only terrible in the playoffs, but also just got arrested like 2 days after the playoffs ended for assaulting a guy in Arlington, which is crazy.
Who did that again?
So the Capitals, one of their best defenders, Martin Farivari, got injured, missed the entire playoffs. They had to elevate this dude named Alex Alexiev to the starting lineup. He was terrible in the playoffs, and then the day after the Caps got eliminated, he went to a bar in Arlington and then got arrested for assaulting someone outside the bar at like 3 a.m, which is kind of hilarious. Anyway, I don't know what specifically the Hurricanes did. Their goalie, Frederik Andersen, is freaking insane, first of all. He's ridiculous. They also just have so many good young forwards who are like hard to stop. Seb Aho, Seth Jarvis, these guys. And they're going to pepper you with shots. And I'm actually, if I had to be a betting man, I would actually favor Carolina to win tonight in game 2.
Well, I mean, they need to. Like,
They do.
If they don't, it's not going to get sick. It's not going to go
certainly
6.
uphill from there.
But yeah, I mean, I think you would have to think that the Canes would win at home, and especially when they know how important it is. So,
Yeah.
but at the same time, Panthers playing really good, really well. I mean,
It's so great to flip between the NBA and NHL conference finals at nighttime. Don't you think when you're watching it? Isn't it such a pleasure?
I tend to stay on the NHL a little bit longer, but yeah, it's not bad. You throw in some ACC and SEC tournament baseball in there, and yeah.
What's the deal with the Deeks? Are they in it? They doing well?
Well, they just lost yesterday, so they're out of the tournament.
Damn it.
But they're going to be a 2 seed in the NCAA. They're fine.
All right.
They just got to learn how to pitch.
They need to rest and reset.
Yeah.
How about our boy Kurtz going off for the A's though?
I'm telling you, Kurtz has been the impressed part. And have we talked about Kurtz on the podcast? Do most people know who Nick Kurtz is? Anyway, for anybody listening who doesn't know, Nick Kurtz.
Matter of fact, he's on line 3.
Nick Kurtz played for Wake Forest last year, and he got called up to the A. He got drafted in the top 10 by the A's last summer. He's played a grand total of 37 minor league games, and now is with the Major League A's. So,
And is killing it.
and he's doing really well. Yeah, and the A's, to be fair, have some good young talent. Now they've had a lot
They
of high
got the
draft choices,
leading rookie of the year right now,
right? And they've got
Who's that?
Jacob Wilson.
Ah.
they've got some really nice pieces.
That's what she said.
So did Steve.
The only problem
Steve said the same.
The only problem is that they're playing in Sacramento, which is kind of unfortunate. But
It-
Dude,
You know what?
Nick
It's-
Kurtz hit a homer like 2 nights ago. Did you see that stadium? It looks like a little league park.
well, it looks like a minor league park.
I was there.
Yeah, but it's like that's the. Oh, what a joke, man!
I was
hate
there.
teams going to Vegas.
I was there. I went to the freaking ballpark. It's great. It's just like, but apparently the Sacramento didn't get the memo that they're having a major league team, or part of it's that they're jaded, which I don't blame him. That the A's are now you're going to move to Vegas. Here's the sad thing: they're going to be there for 3 years before the Vegas thing opens. So right when they get accustomed to it and like happy that they finally like, all right, make bygones be bygones, then they're out the door and headed to Vegas. So it's funny. And it's funny that Kurtz left Vegas to go to Sacramento because the Aces are in Vegas. That's the AAA team. To go to Sacramento to play for the A's, and hope to get back to Vegas when they're head to the major leaguers. That's their new home.
Teams going to Vegas. It's such an affront to human civilization to have pro sports teams moving to Las Vegas.
Yeah, but it's better for the gamblers.
Yeah.
Who cares? God. I hate gamblers.
Apparently-
Oh, by the way, anybody watch Jeopardy a couple nights ago? Anybody have a chance?
I did.
Just missed it.
I did
did?
watch it.
Did Steve win?
Which episode? Let me see if am I caught up. So I record Jeopardy every night.
Do you?
I do.
Same.
So
That's why you're a know-it-all.
So
Get it.
so I sometimes get behind. Like we'll go a week without watching it, and then we'll binge watch it to catch up. But I think I'm caught up. So what are you talking about? Which
It was the
clue?
episode where that dude who was like the repeating champion, the skinny guy with like the longish blonde hair, lost.
Yeah.
And the final Jeopardy category was sports geography.
Yes.
And if it was me, I'm putting like all of my money on it. But then I thought of the answer in my head and I didn't get it.
You know what? Yes, because Las Vegas was the answer, and I had actually forgotten that Oakland had actually moved. The Raiders had actually moved to Las Vegas, so I had thought Green Bay. Because when I heard the density question, I was like, "Oh, well, Green Bay," and I was like, "Oh, wait, that's a city, not a state." But I still went with Wisconsin because I was like, "Well, Green Bay, it's got to be Green Bay, right?"
Yeah.
But it was Las Vegas because, well, I forgot that the Raiders moved.
Yeah, Nevada. I thought
Nevada,
it was anyway. It was like the NFL state or the state with an NFL team with the least population density. Someone guessed Minnesota, and that was a great guess, but it wasn't true. I would have said Missouri for Kansas City, but it wasn't that either.
Well, and they're in Kansas.
No, they're in Kansas City.
What?
Missouri.
Oh, they're on that side of the river.
I think
No,
they're
they're
on
not. They're not.
Are
They're
they?
on the Missouri side.
Are they?
Well, Kansas might have been.
Well,
closer
actually,
to
they
the
probably
team,
are because
correct?
they're right next to the Royal Stadium. So yeah, it is in Missouri.
Well, if it wasn't Kansas, that would have been closer to being correct, probably, because Kansas
Right.
is bigger than Missouri, right?
Well, it has less
Well,
people
whatever.
probably.
There's less people. Yeah.
But yeah, Nevada. I had forgotten. So did you get it right or did you miss it?
No,
like me?
I would have guessed Missouri. I would have gotten it wrong.
Yeah,
And what was the answer? Nevada.
Nevada. Yeah,
Yeah.
because it's Las Vegas.
You know what I
Nevada. Nevada has a lot of people in Las Vegas,
But that's it.
but nowhere
Yeah,
else.
Right. Okay.
There's a lot of desert.
What about Reno?
Yeah, well, there's
Reno
people there
911.
too. But again, a lot of desert in Nevada. Let's jump. I know you're up against it, Bijan, but I really want to talk about one thing with you before we get off into other topics. So we missed it last week because we didn't do a podcast. So this is a week old news, and I know it's been talked about for a bit. But I want to know everybody's opinion on Pete Rose being eligible for the Hall of Fame. I don't have a problem with him being eligible. I think he should be eligible. I'm just not convinced he's getting in. And I want to hear what y'all's opinions are. Now that he and the 8 Black Sox players and one owner of the Phillies, who was never going to get in anyway, are all eligible now that they're deceased. And so the commissioner basically said, your lifetime ban ends with your lifetime. So now all deceased players who were banned are now eligible for the Hall of Fame. But do you think any of these will actually get in? Because remember, all Hall of Fame voters are told to take into consideration character, integrity, and sportsmanship when voting for the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, well, senators and representatives are told they need to uphold the Constitution, and that's not important either.
Yeah. So just pick the player.
I think Hall of Fame voters are more judicious than senators are.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, I think Pete Rose definitely deserves to be in the Hall of Fame. I think Shoeless Joe deserves to be in the Hall of Fame.
Why is he not? Well, what did he bet on?
He's
Black
part of the
Sox.
Black Sox.
But it really came
Throw
down
in
to
the
he didn't-
1919 World
he
Series.
wasn't that smart, and he didn't even really know what he was doing in the first place.
But again, we don't know if that's actually true.
Historians say.
Yes, everyone has said because he's illiterate. He was illiterate. We know that to be a fact. We know that he grew up in Greenville, South Carolina in the 1890s.
And we know how stupid South Carolina
And
is.
so, yes, there is a indication that he wasn't bright.
Says West Virginia guy.
But the fact is, we don't actually know if he was bright or not. We know he didn't read or write, but that's not necessarily a indication of intelligence.
I think it is.
Well-
if you can't read, you're pretty fucking stupid.
Well, but maybe not. Maybe you have common sense. Maybe you know
That's
how to
true,
read
yeah.
a room. Maybe you know how to read people. Like,
Yeah.
I think that's an overgeneralization. It's true.
Look at Everett sticking up for the illiterates.
Well,
You know,
yeah, I'm just saying, if you grew up in South Carolina in the 1890s, I mean, South Carolina's education system isn't that great right now.
Let alone the
Imagine
1890s.
So I'm just saying, I've heard all my life he was not bright, but I don't know if it's true or not. Like, I never met him. He died before I was born. So I don't know how much he knew. I don't know what his role in it really was. I've seen 8 Men Out. I've seen the movies. I've seen a couple documentaries.
Yep.
I know what people tell me, but I don't know if it's right.
Well, you could use that for a lot of things, though.
No, you can. There's no question.
So do you think, Everett, that the people who were pulling the strings of that Black Sox scandal just kind of used him as a puppet to, like,
They did.
without him having the wherewithal to say no?
What I think is true is I think Eddie Seacott, who's sort of the ringleader of that scandal, I think the bettors wanted Jackson a part of it. They said without Jackson being in on it, they weren't going to make the bets.
Because he's too good. He was just
Because he was their
gonna
best
hit-
player.
yeah.
Right. Because he's the best player. And if the best player's not in, they didn't want to make the bet. I do believe that is true. Did Eddie Seacott tell the bettors, yes, he's in, without asking him if he was in? Or did he just speak for Joe Jackson? I don't know. I don't know how complicit Joe Jackson is in the scandal because his numbers in the World Series were really good by all accounts. And you can look it up. You can baseballreference.com. You can see that his numbers in the World Series were really good. He didn't look like he threw it.
Yeah.
But again, do we know?
I have a
was he that
sidebar
good
question
at
for this. How do they find out about this? How did they discover that they threw the game?
Well, they came out. And,
Yeah, it came out pretty early on in like the 20s or 21. Kennesaw Mountain Landis, who was the commissioner at the time, they were all he heard about it pretty early on and asked, and they fessed up to it.
Okay.
So it happened. Like there's no gray area, and that's why Kennesaw Mountain Landis just gave them all the lifetime ban. For
Go ahead, Tim. Were you going to say something?
I don't know. It's probably going to be something snarky. So I guess I would like to see Pete Rose there. I don't like that he's not there. And now that his lifetime is over, his ban should be. It is over, and
especially now in betting time. Sorry, Tim.
yeah, I mean, because betting is. I mean, it's
That was
still.
norm.
It's still. Not
but it's the
right.
integrity of the game. It's one thing for you and I to bet.
Yeah.
It's a different thing for the players in the game to bet.
True.
And I think sport, more than anything else, if you don't believe in the integrity of the game, then what do the results matter?
Yeah. I mean, if the proof is there that Pete Rose just bet on his team, not against his team, I mean, I'm cool with it. It's not like he went out and sabotaged the game.
You think he ever threw a game? And look, there's no proof that he did.
Yeah.
There's no proof that he threw a game. There's plenty of proof that he bet, and there's also proof that he lied about betting. And that's where the integrity issue comes on. He lied about it a lot.
But the Hall of Fame to me is it's how you were when you were a player. Like I don't give a shit about what you'd happen like as a manager. I know the whole little disclaimer, but
character, integrity, and sportsmanship.
I mean, I get it.
Here's my question based off what Ty said on the integrity issue. And forgive me for not knowing more about Pete Rose. I really should, but I don't know that much. When he was fixing / betting on games, was that when he was a player or a manager? And did he do that with the game manager? Did he do that on Reds games or games that did not involve the Reds? Oh, he did?
He did bet on Reds games, but he always, as far as we know, he always bet on them to win. But he did bet on baseball and on Reds games.
So you use all that with integrity.
But the thing is,
good sportsmanship.
if you're betting on, but even if you bet on the Reds, that's one thing. But you're still an insider. Even if you're betting on the Cardinals and Dodgers, you know those teams, you know who they're pitching, you know who's injured.
Yeah, we're still trying to fix it out with the Wall Street and Congress.
Every time I go on the internet and Pete Rose is discussed, it seems like the entire internet is on his side, saying that he should be in, he deserves to be in. He was an incredible player. He deserves to be in based off of the merit of his play. But I think if I'm judging it correctly, Everett, I'm on your side in the minority, which is that I don't think he should be in. I think that if you bet on games and you're a manager for a team or you're in the MLB in any capacity, you shouldn't be allowed in, personally.
And see, I agree. So I have.
But isn't that going to be subjective?
No, it's not subjective. It's.
Wait, well, you got Ty Cobb who's a. All right.
Here's the difference. Here's the difference.
Racist. Yeah, all that.
Okay.
But everybody was racist back then.
Exactly.
But, anyway,
but the point is, Ty Cobb was never charged with anything. Like being an asshole is not a crime.
But didn't you just say sportsmanship?
Okay, sportsmanship. You're right. That's part of it. But what was the sportsmanship of the day? Was he the only guy that ever slid in cleats up?
Well, a lot of people
or did other people do it?
He was
dirty. He was an asshole.
Yeah.
We also beat up a black guy in the stands, right?
Nobody liked him. But again, whether you like somebody or not, and being an asshole is not a crime. Betting on baseball is a crime. So that's where you draw the line, the distinction. Yes, Ty Cobb, asshole by all accounts. And yes, there are some sportsmanship issues, clearly. But where I was going with, so here's the
his
question.
Mother shot his father.
That's what I've heard.
Because she thought he was a prowler.
Yeah. I mean, it's Royston, Georgia, man.
Yeah.
Have you ever been to Royston? Come on.
No. Shoot, then ask later.
The hills of North Georgia. So here's your thing. So Barry Bonds, right? All-time home run king. Took steroids. Not in the Hall of Fame.
Nor should he be.
Okay, that's my point. Pete Rose, all-time hits king. Bet on baseball. Not in the Hall of Fame. But there's an argument to be made that they should both be in the Hall of Fame because of their athletic achievement. Mm-hmm. But where do you stand? One cheated by taking substances that weren't legal. One bet on baseball.
That didn't help him for his when he played.
Okay.
Because he was a manager.
That's fine.
Barry Bonds was just an asshole.
Did Barry Bonds, again, being an asshole is not the point. You can be an asshole. We've been over this.
Yeah, I know.
You got to take that out of the criteria.
Well, Barry Bonds, before he started taking roids, was already a Hall of Fame caliber player.
He was pretty good, right?
He was.
I think, and I think we said this on another episode, I think you tell the truth. I think you put them in the Hall of Fame for their accomplishments. The all-time home run leader and the all-time hit leaders should be in. But I think you put on the plaque that they did this, that they were one took steroids and one bet on baseball. And you just tell the truth, because the whole point of the Hall of Fame is the history of baseball, right?
Yep.
Hard to tell the history of baseball without Pete Rose and Barry Bonds. But you tell the truth. You say they did this that was great and of, merit to be in the Hall of Fame, but they also did this.
Well, let me ask you this, kind of in the same vein, and I should know this again, but I don't. Was O.J. Simpson removed from the Hall of Fame after the murders happened?
I don't believe he was.
He wasn't conved of the murder.
Yeah,
He's
he was
still trying to find out.
Yeah, he's still looking for that guy.
He's still out there.
That's true. He was not convicted. But I don't think he was ever. I think once you're in, I don't think you get kicked out. Do you? I don't know. I've never heard of anybody being kicked out of the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm kind of. I don't know if you need to be a good guy to make the Hall of Fame, but I do think that even if it's after the fact, even if it's Pete Rose betting on games after he was the hit king, Barry Bonds taking roids after he was already a Hall of Fame caliber player, I still think that should have an effect on your eligibility to get in. I personally, and I'm probably outdated in saying this, and I'm probably in the minority, I don't think Pete Rose and the and Barry Bonds and the Black Sox, honestly, I don't think any of them should be in, personally.
Okay.
I don't think that they should be in at all. Shoeless Joe is a special case because he might not have had the wherewithal to understand what was going on. But the Black Sox should not be in, Pete Rose should not be in, and Barry Bonds should not be in because of the fact that what they did is a complete stain on their legacy. Can you have Pete Rose be in maybe as a player and not as a manager? Is that the whole thing?
The thing is, yes. I mean, you can. There are people who got in the Hall of Fame for their playing careers and not in their managing careers. There are people who are in the Hall of Fame. Like Bob Uecker certainly wasn't in the Hall of Fame because of his baseball ability. He's in there in the broadcasting wing. Joe Torre is not in because he was a great player. He's in because he was a great manager. So yes, there is some of that. You get in for what you did well. And I think
if you fuck all that up with this insane scandal, you shouldn't be in.
Well, but the thing is, can you tell the history of baseball without them? If you're writing the history of baseball, can you leave them out? Can you say these players didn't exist? I don't think you can. I think you have to include them as great players. But I also think you should tell the truth and say, this is what they did.
Can't you work with that with just American history? Can you tell the history of America without bringing up these assholes?
Well, that's okay. This is a different and something we probably don't have time for. But let's talk about that for 2 minutes. Let's take my home state just because it's something I know about. George Walton, signer of the Declaration of Independence from Georgia.
Yep.
Slave owner. Okay.
Now we get
is he a good guy or a bad guy?
Yeah, no, yeah, I see what you're saying.
Yes, have that conversation. I just think you should tell the truth.
Right.
Yes, he was a good guy. He signed the Declaration of Independence. He did a lot of good things for the state of Georgia. Yes, he owned slaves.
Yeah, that's the other thing with the cancel culture where you kind of drew a line. It's like, all right, look. You're not, if you're going to go by that guideline, then you might as well just wipe
nobody
everything
gets
clean.
in.
Yeah, then there's nobody there.
Right.
I said this is just a time and era. We learned and evolved from that. But that doesn't mean I want George Washington's face off the dollar bill. I want the George Washington monument taken down. No, I don't want that. That's also a sign of.
But that's kind of my point to this whole Hall of Fame thing. Just tell the truth.
Right.
You can be a bad person or have done bad things and still been a great athlete. And your accomplishments should still be your accomplishments. Pete Rose didn't cheat the game. He didn't take steroids. He is the all-time hits leader.
Yeah.
He is. That's a fact.
Yep.
And he bet on baseball after his playing career when he was a manager. Okay. And look, I'm not saying Pete Rose was a good guy. look, he only wanted to be in the Hall of Fame when he was alive so that he could make money from it. It's not like he cared if he was in the Hall of Fame. His autograph would have been worth twice as much money if he were in the Hall of Fame, and that's what he wanted. Did he have a relationship with I can't remember the woman's name, but there was some dealings with a relationship in there. I mean, look, not a great person, but he's still a great baseball player. And when you're talking about the Hall of Fame, but that's where this whole, character, integrity, and sportsmanship comes in. Do you have to be just a great player, or do you have to be a great player and a good person?
Yeah, I mean, it's just like the good player, and that tells a story. I mean, yeah, because it's always going to be but he was an asshole. But that's what
and that's the Ty Cobb scenario. Look,
Not all people named Ty.
Maybe it might just be a Ty thing.
What a jerk!
But yeah, I mean, he's
What's your
in,
name, Steve?
but only because I don't know. He was in the first class, and nobody thought about him much afterwards. And a lot of it, I think, came out afterwards.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I got to bounce on that note.
It's an
but I
interesting.
appreciate the time.
It's an interesting.
All right, thanks, Bijan. We're gonna talk about a couple other things.
We'll be here next week, and you can jump into again.
Let's do it next week.
All right,
Bijan.
Yeah, we'll do 2 weeks in a row. It'll be a streak.
Unbelievable.
All right, couple things before we get out, because I know we're going
Up
a little
against
long,
it.
but I think it's been good conversation to this point. I want to ask you a golf question.
There it goes.
Because, I know. Look, golf is not huge on this, but in the last 2 majors, a lot of things happened. We talked about Rory McIlroy winning the Grand Slam and being one of only 6 guys to ever do it.
Right.
Well, Scottie Scheffler won the PGA this past week. Scottie Scheffler is one of those guys that you probably, if you're just a casual golf fan or not even a golf fan, well, if you're a casual golf fan, you've heard of him. But if you're not really a golf fan, you might not have heard of him. You might not know who he is. But he's 29 years old, or 28 years old. He has won 3 majors and 15 tour tournaments. There are only 2 guys in the history of golf. Now, they've been playing golf for a long time. Only 2 guys who have done this before. Tiger Woods, Jack Nicklaus. That's the list. If you're on a list with Jack Nicklaus and Tiger Woods,
Yeah. That's pretty good.
I mean, he's not Roy McIlroy. He hasn't won the Grand Slam. He's only won 3 majors. He hasn't done all the things. But he's 28 years old, and his trajectory is pretty damn impressive. What are your thoughts? Like, when you hear a guy is doing Tiger Woods, Jack Nicklaus things,
Yeah,
what do you think about him? Do you think he's the face of golf? Do you think he is the next great golfer? Or do you think he's just been really lucky up until now? He's going to fall off a cliff at 30.
no, that definitely turned your head. I'm rooting for Scheffler because the nonsense he had to go through.
That one tournament where he got pulled over for no reason.
Yeah, exactly. So, I think it's got a fan here. So, if you put your name in that conversation, it's definitely a start to pay attention.
Well, I mean, I think that's the thing. I think it's like you hear all these stats, and there's a million stats. He's batting 400 on Tuesday at 3:00. There's a lot of stats, and we're so in an analytical world where we compare everything. But when the comparisons with the 2 arguably greatest golfers in the history of golf, you kind of have to pay attention. Like, it's one of those things where you go, I don't know that he's going to be one of the greatest golfers, but I don't know that he's not. We have to watch his career. He's 28 years old.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not putting him in the Golf Hall of Fame yet, but if he continues doing what he's doing, he's going to be there.
That's right.
And I think you have to sort of marvel at you're getting to watch him play. Like, I think he's worth watching.
Yeah, and golf needs that. I mean,
They do, no question.
we thought it was going to be Rory. I still like Rory. I was glad he won the Masters. But you kind of need somebody that kind of is become the face of the sport, and someone that is kind of like Tiger, like when Tiger took over, because that's when Tiger was, well, we all know when Tiger started just destroying competition. Everybody was like, who is this guy? And golf's popularity just skyrocketed. So, yeah, I don't know what the viewership is. I don't know if it's going down or whatnot, but yeah, I mean, you need a face, and if you're in that conversation, I'm going to start paying attention now.
I think there are a couple of names in golf that when they're on the leaderboard, when they're playing well, like one of the things about golf is that it's hard. To do what Tiger and Jack did and win consistently for as long as they did, it's really hard. We talked about when we were talking about McIlroy and the Grand Slams. Grand Slam championships are, Nickolas with 17, Tiger with 15. The next is 9. Like it drops off pretty quickly.
Yeah.
And and there are only, 9 guys or 6 guys that have ever won all 4 tournaments. It's hard. And so you've got a couple of names, the John Rahms, Scottie Schefflers, the Royal McIlroys, Bryson DeChambeau's. When those guys are playing in the final group, you should watch because those are sort of the names right now. And there are some others. I mean, there's Xavier Schauffele is pretty good. I can never say his name. He's Asian guy. Sorry, can't think of how to pronounce his name right now. But Morikawa, that's it. There are a couple guys that are really good. Like, there's not just these guys. There's 5 or 6 that are really good.
Right.
But the problem is you have, like, McIlroy wins the Masters and then he finishes 47th at the PGA. He had a terrible week.
Yep.
And so what you want is the same guys up there all the time. You want these handful of guys to always be in the top 10 and be battling each other and getting these really great pairings on Sunday. That's hard to come about. But golf for me, like tennis, like horse racing, like all these sports that I'm not really into, I watch the majors. I watch the big ones. Like, you ask me who won the Cincinnati Open in tennis, I'm not going to know. You ask me who won Wimbledon, I might. You ask me who won the Tour at Valhalla, I'm not going to know. But you ask me who won the PGA, I might. It's like that. I'm paying attention to the majors. And I just think that he's an interesting guy to keep watching because, like I said, when you're up with Tiger Woods and Jack Nicklaus, and that's the list, that's something.
Yeah.
That's not just being okay.
Yeah, you definitely have my attention if you're in that conversation.
Do you want to talk Hawkeye or do you want to talk NFL? So there's a couple NFL news stories we can talk about, or we can talk about this whole Hawkeye technology in baseball. Where you want to go? We only got time for one.
Dang it.
I mean, I guess I still have bourbon. We got time for as much as you want.
Let's go to football real quick.
Football real quick. All right. NFL owners approved NFL players eligible for the Olympics in flag football. So, NFL players are going to be allowed to play flag football. Remember, flag football is 5-on-5. You get a quarterback, a running back, and 3 receivers. You get 2 safeties, 2 cornerbacks, and a rusher. We're going to call it a linebacker.
Only one player per team.
Yeah, only one player per team. So you can't have, the Cowboys playing. You can only get one player off of each NFL team.
Okay.
So you got 10 guys that are going to start. I don't
Cowboys
know.
They'd come in 13th out of 12.
They would. That's not the point. And I don't know how many people are actually on the team. I know that that's 5-on-5, so it's 5 on the field at one time.
Right.
They may have as much as 20. I don't know. Go too deep at each position. I'm not sure. If you're the general manager of the United States Olympic flag football team, who you taking first? Who's your first pick?
Justin Jefferson.
Okay.
He wants it more. He's the one that was on there. I've
He
done all
wants to-
this. Yeah.
Sure.
Jaden.
Jane Daniels. You're saying Jane Daniels, not Lamar Jackson.
No, because it's flag football. Yeah.
You don't think Lamar Jackson would be good at flag football?
No, I think you beat him. I think he's going to go with the younger in the.
Younger? Okay, that's
I
fair.
just want him to get hurt. So
I don't want him to get hurt.
I don't know.
okay.
I might take somebody like, well, he wouldn't be my first pick. I'm going to throw Bijan Robinson out there because I'm going to go with my team as well. But I think from a running back perspective, you need somebody that can get out in the flat and catch passes. So I'm going sort of a McCaffrey, Robinson kind of guy, but I'm going youth with you. So I'm going Robinson, less injuries. I think that's a valuable position. What do you think about the defense, though? Like, how important is the rusher? Like, I don't know enough about flag football to know.
So-
how often do you get in there?
So I played for a team here in Winston for 5 years, whatever. It was a competitive league, and it was fun. Played every Sunday. And I think it was the same amount. I think it was 5v5. I might played 7v7. Anyway, but the rusher is, essential to you're playing your defense. But we played this one team because of the field we're on, the quarterback would have a long snap and he would just back all the way up. Mm-hmm. So it was just like he already had, 5-10 yards on you, and then you're trying to rush him down and he would just throw it. I think we also had a point where we had 2 rushers, but you definitely need somebody that is.
You want Deion Sanders out there, but he's a little old. So who's the lockdown corner?
Missing some toes.
Who's the lockdown corner that you're throwing out there?
You definitely don't want. It's not like you want
Joey Porter Jr.
heavy DTs or DEs. You want a DE that's like.
I think it's a linebacker. I don't think it's even a lineman, unless it's a kid from Dallas. We were just talking about Dallas, 11 from Parsons, Micah Parsons. Yeah. I might pick Micah Parsons on
Let's just go with all safeties and cornerbacks.
Yeah, but you got to have a rusher, right? Like so I think Micah Parsons would be pretty impressive.
You're just getting the flag, so
yeah, but still, he's fast, he's quick, he's good off the line. He's going to get around a guy.
I think that where you even look at speed even to another degree for flag football. You're like 4.44.
No, I agree. Speed's important, especially on defense. I think speed might be more important on defense than offense.
What are the rules now? Like
I don't know.
I need to find out more because there was a
do and don't.
There was
5-on-5. So that's all I know about flag football.
When we played like a decade ago, we would play more than that actually. Anyway, so they would there were certain rules where you couldn't, if you blocked, you had to have your hands behind your back, and then there were certain ones where they would call illegal if you call an illegal.
You couldn't slap their hands.
You couldn't slap their hands. You couldn't go like this.
Yeah, you couldn't. In high school, when I didn't play so much, but you couldn't do the spin thing, which I think you can in what they're doing because they did it in the Pro Bowl.
Yeah, I will tell you that it did. Like there was a couple times they had to stop the game early because it got heated, where we would like have almost fisticuffs. But so it's not like you're taking out from the chippiness; it's all there too. Sometimes you bring in old or are just fresh off of the college gridiron for football players to come play flag, they'll forget where they are. Because I got lit up by a guy that played college, was a safety in college, and he wrapped me up to try to get the flags full force without any pads, shoulder right directly to my back, and then cracked my back. Got the ball, but it was just like just fell out of bounds. Like actually hit my ribs, not my back. Yeah, go ahead. You're up.
Flag football is a non-contact sport. There's no tackling, diving, blocking, screening, or fumbles. 10 players per team, 5 players on the field. Field is 70 by 25 yards. 40-minute games, 2 20-minute halves, including a 2-minute warning, 4 downs to reach midfield, and 4 downs to score a touchdown. No run plays within 5 yards of the end zone. That's all I got so far.
I think they moved that around because there was where you could able to kind of get it wasn't really a play that was like a pick and roll, but you could run in the
I'm
way.
sure
in
there's
the
a
way
rub.
Obstruction,
Yeah,
like,
a rub
yeah.
is not a pick.
So,
But that goes to the blocking and tackling. Yes, I think you have to have your hands either down at your side or behind your back. You kind of get in the way, but you can't really block.
right, yeah,
Like, there's a difference between blocking and getting in the way.
yeah. And then it was we also I think you actually had to count 5 Mississippi before you rushed.
Possibly. That's the old street football world.
Yeah, and you still did it for like
That might be a thing.
yeah.
Because there's no line. Like, there's literally no linemen. You have 5 players. It's a running back, a quarterback, 3 receivers. There's no line. So I think there does have to be a staggered 5 Mississippi or whatever count to rush. That's probably a thing.
I knew when and again I have to find out what was the what I don't think it was 5v5. I think it was 7v7. But we did have to use linebackers. So, and that was monitoring the, using the running back on the outside for a screen or, the short crossing routes. But definitely it was essential we had to have linebackers. So if you didn't,
So
you
the
would get
quarterback has 7 seconds from receiving the snap to release the ball. Once a backwards handoff, pass, or lateral occurs, the second 7-second rule goes away. Maximum of 2 designated defenders rush legally. Let me see if it says anything. All designated rushers must identify themselves with their hands raised until the snap to legally rush from the 7-yard rush line. So I don't think they have to count. I think they have 7 yards behind the line. Is that a 7-yard rush line, whatever that is? Designated rushers are not obligated to rush, but they can rush immediately upon the snap. So it sounds like there's no Mississippi count. It's just there's a 7-yard run that you got to start on. So you're probably 7 yards behind the line of scrimmage when you go, and you have to identify yourself. That's right.
It's me.
I'm coming.
I'm the one that's going to rush.
Your ass is mine.
It's funny because you think about the NFL and you think about football players and you go, all right, well, so the U.S. should dominate. Like, we've got to be the best team in flag football, right? There are a couple guys. Saint Germain is German, right? He's not American, so he could play for the German team if there is a German team. Maybe there is, maybe there isn't. And it's kind of interesting because you don't know, like, I don't know enough about flag football. I don't know how many countries are playing. I don't know who's really good. Like,
I know it's blown up here, but I don't know if it's blown up other countries. Yeah.
Is the United States just going to win because we're the only one that plays American football? Or is like Canada going to be really good? I don't know.
I don't know. I think the world's going to catch on to this, and it's going to be like, this is not exact. We joked about this for regular football. That's going to turn into flag football, but it's not going to be surprised to me that they're going to have a professional flag football league, like in the next 5 years. And
but is anybody going to watch it?
I mean, I enjoyed it when we were playing. We'd watch the second game, and like if it's a lot on plays and how you develop these plays and so forth. So it is somewhat fun to watch. It's not like
there's a lot of things that are fun to watch, but are
Will
you
get
are you going to
invested?
be committed to it? Like, do you watch the Pro Bowl?
no.
I know
Exactly.
It's flag football though.
Right.
It's the same thing. It's fun to watch.
I know, but it's just the Pro Bowl period.
But it's like, I don't know. This is my problem. So with the UFL and so with a lot of things, I think there's an oversaturation of football. I just don't know that football is. The NFL is really popular. College football is really popular. But once you get past that, The NFL, the UFL is not really popular.
Here's what's popular though: these kids are playing flag football, and you know how that
kids are playing soccer too.
I know, but and that's why it's the most popular sport in the world.
But not in America.
It's still very popular. It's a lot better, more popular than what it used to be. You go look around, and you got more people kicking the soccer ball around than they are like throwing footballs, and they're not playing football anymore because they don't want to be brain dead later. So
we're all going to be brain dead eventually.
Yeah, I love football. I do. I get. Would I want my kid to play football? Probably not. But I mean,
but again, that's my point. It's not whether it's
so they identify with that.
Okay,
and so they want to watch it.
Okay, maybe.
Get it?
So this is a soccer thing here.
Where
the Europa League champions are in last place before relegation in the EPL table. I mean, Tottenham just won the EPL, the Europa League.
It's because they were how they finished last year. Yes.
Yeah, but I just find it that they can go through that because it's still a tough tournament. Go through that and win it, and yet they are in the last spot before you get sucked out of the league.
Yeah. So what they did is they decided that they would put all their apples in the basket that they would try to win the Europa, because they threw out their white flag to say that the EPL was too tough for them to win.
Well, I hope whoever the coach is or the manager or whatever they call them over there is out. So,
well, yeah, I mean that's a revolving door for Tottenham, buddy.
Yeah, but
winning the Europa, and beating Man United, which I was like, you could have picked what contest in hell did I win? Should find out, those two were playing. But I mean, it's silverware for you, and it's it is a good thing to have on that you won and be able to come back, and even though you're dead last or coming in last in the EPL, that you won the second tier Champions League and against Man United.
Who's not the Man United they used to be.
No, but they said that they're on their way up.
I'd say that too if I was them.
Ridiculous. Yeah.
All right, so let's get back to football. Let's get back to people.
So the Europa is soccer. What are you asking?
He's asking what's the point of having a championship when you're last
when you suck that bad?
Well, that's because it's all judged from the year before.
Yeah.
So the top 4 of the EPO play in the Champions League. The next 4 play in the Europa. And that goes for every league.
I get that.
Okay, do you?
But
so this is 5 through 8.
But still,
so
they still had to go through because it's not an easy tournament, and it's just I don't know.
So there are 20. Let me understand. There are 20 EPL teams, right? 20-ish.
Yes, in the last 3, and so 18, 19, 20 get thrown to.
So they were in the 5 through 8 last year, and this year they've dropped to 17th.
Horrible. Yeah.
Okay. I'm just trying to make sure I understand.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're dog crap. So I think with that being said, they said, all right, well, do we just concentrate fully on the Europa? And I think that's what was decided, because, the EPL was a lost cause. Yeah. And so it's all about motivation. So you got motivation like, oh, well, we can at least come away with a trophy. You win the Europa. And so they put their best 11 out there. So, and then
so they're not putting their best 11 for the EPL.
No, because they were like, there's no way in hell we're gonna if we're gonna be here. We're gonna be anyway. There's no way. And so I guess
risk the players, because they are god awful.
Now you have some Tottenham fans are saying that you had a better season than Arsenal because you guys get silverware, even though you won the Europa. Yeah, we were in semifinals.
I don't believe that at all. Arsenal looks great, and we look like ass.
Well, they start. It's always with Tottenham. They start off great, and then they. Yeah. But yes, they're going to get a new coach just like every year. It's like, does the day end with Y? Yeah. So. It's crazy. I mean, because you do have an American owner, right?
Yeah.
Well, and Arsenal is an American owner. You do have great facilities.
Fantastic facility.
Yeah, and you're just waiting for that one moment where you get back to being awesome again.
Yeah.
And So anyway, back to American football.
So tired. The tush push is still legal.
Yeah,
Do you care?
No.
Yeah, I mean,
I thought it. No, but I thought it was funny that the people that voted. I mean, I do credit the Lions saying, "Yeah, we'll do it. We got to beat you. That's fine." But it was like everybody that was like in the NFC East were like, "No, get rid of it." And it was pretty much everybody in the NFC minus the Lions. Wasn't that it? That's just the Lions. And then there was one more that went for the tush push.
49ers, I think.
Well, yeah, the 49ers or something. But it was like those two, and then everybody else was like, the AFC were like, yeah, I don't see any reason why not. And oh, no, the Chiefs actually sided with the ones against it. But, I mean, and then it got in a heated argument. I mean, like,
Stop it.
I know what you're going to say is just learn how to stop it. That's great. But I did like the argument about, well, you talk about player safety and then the wedge, blah, blah. I said they do have a point, but I just hope that, they're going to figure it out. It's going to be a moot, as soon as
When teams figure out how to stop it.
and how to perform themselves. So
Yeah.
Well, I think that's it. I think at the end of the day, it's not who's going to figure out how to stop it. It's who's going to be able to run it better.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And, okay, here we go. Here are the 10 teams that voted against the push. So Eagles, against it being. So these are the teams that saved it. We'll say that.
Yeah.
The Eagles, the Ravens, the Browns, the Lions, so that's one NFC. Jaguars, Dolphins, Patriots, Saints, that's two NFC.
Saints, yeah.
Jets and Titans. So, 8 AFC teams.
Yeah, you know why the
NFC
Saints
teams.
did that, right?
No,
Because
they want
who's their head coach?
I don't know. I don't pay attention to the Saints.
Kellen Moore.
Kellen Moore, who was,
All right, that was the
offensive coordinator for the Eagles.
Yeah, there you go. Okay. So those were the 10 that voted in favor. I think teams will try and do it. Like, to be perfectly honest, 4th and 1 is about a 90% proposition anyway. Like
Dan Campbell's always going to go for it.
Yeah, most teams make it on 4th and 1. The Commanders are always going for it. The Lions are always going for
Their
it.
fourth
The Saints will always go for it. Yeah. So there are plenty of teams that are going to go for it on 4th and 1 anyway. So I think the goal is just make 4th and 1 automatic. And so what I think is funny about this whole thing, and I think we've said this before, up until 10 years ago, pushing your own player was illegal. Like,
Or pulling.
they changed, or pulling, pushing or pulling. You couldn't help the ball carrier in any way. They changed that rule to allow this. Like, there was a committee that said you should be allowed to push or pull an offensive player or a ball carrier and help them. So why would you go back? Like, and I think that offenses will improve upon this. Like, they'll see it's a copycat league. They'll see what the Eagles are doing. They see what's successful. Like I said, Kellen Moore will go to the Saints and he'll do it. And there'll be I don't know what you can do with Bourbon Street and push, but whatever they want to call it, the Mardi Gras, whatever.
The Mardi Gras draw.
Mardi Gras draw, whatever you want to call it. There'll be something and teams
bourbon
will do
bump.
it. Yeah, whatever you want to do. And so I think teams will try and get good at it. I don't know that anybody's going to stop it. Like, it's pretty hard to stop 300-pound people from getting a yard. But
It's like the Buccaneers posted a video yesterday. It says, we did it.
yeah, so I think people will just try and get better at it than really try and stop it. Just don't get into 4th and 1. Basically the rule.
You did hear this, that someone came up with the idea that they would sign a short person, shorter than I am,
A midget.
and they
don't
would
have, like-
and they would slingshot them over the line for. Yeah, someone had that idea. That's a true idea.
Eddie Gaskell, that it? What's his name?
Could you
Eddie
imagine?
Caskell.
You
Is
get
it Caskell or Gaskell?
Haskell from
Haskell.
Leave It to Beaver.
No. I'm talking about the midget that played in the major leagues.
the one that
Eddie something. Gaskell. Anyway, the famous picture of the St. Louis Browns midget.
Right.
Got one major league at bat and he walked.
Guidell.
Eddie Guidell. That's right. Goodell.
Yeah.
So you just going to get his children? I mean, he's probably no longer with us.
Mike
But-
Leach.
he died in
Mike
61.
Leach.
Yeah.
Mike Leach.
It was a while ago that happened.
This was on Barstool Sports. Mike Leach allegedly once had to
Mike
be
Leach.
talked out of putting a little person in the backfield
What's Mike Leach?
and throwing him over the line of scrimmage in short yard situations.
Y'all laugh. That's not a bad idea.
No, but
I'd
it's
have
true.
to be.
It's
I'd
true.
have to be talked out of
Yeah.
it too.
I mean, you can imagine this like how
You don't even need a short person. You can just use a really light guy, like the punter or something.
Yeah.
Some guy that only weighs 160 pounds. And let's
Your number gets called and you're like, oh,
let's
no.
get him a running start and a little shove.
so you're allowed to lift them.
I don't know.
I mean,
I wouldn't think so.
I'm
but
thinking it's
maybe.
like how we do in like in the pool where you put your put your hands like this and then
They
just
step in and
yeah
you
yeah.
just push.
Well, they got cleats on, so that could hurt.
Well, you have
But-
to have extra padding on your gloves.
Yeah,
I mean-
they'd make special gloves for that.
Like I said,
I would
you
have
got-
loved the meeting though with Mike Leach. I got this great idea. We'll just get a smaller person and launch him over the line for
Look, you got a backup punter that's never seen the field.
yeah.
Let's get him in on this play.
That's right. Just hold on to the ball.
So, not
Enjoy
along
the ride.
but we should probably stop there. But I'm going to ask you about Brock Purdy anyway. Mr. Irrelevant,
Now make it
now making bank.
relevant money.
Now relevant money. That's exactly right. The first 2 years he was in the league, everybody was saying, he's not a great quarterback. He was last year.
Yeah.
It's all the 49er offense. It's the only reason he's, Shanahan. He's the only reason he's any good.
Right.
Still believe in that? Or do you think he's actually a decent quarterback? Because he's getting a lot of money.
I think it's a marriage of both. I think he's a decent quarterback, and I think he does well with that system. So, but I feel bad for him because he's going to be under the microscope, and that's fine. If you're, I'll be under the microscope with that much money.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So,
I mean, you're under the microscope as an NFL starting quarterback anyway.
like
aren't
what
you?
do you do? It's like here's the 40,
Especially that kind.
here's the 49ers in a situation that here you got a quarterback that knows the system, right? Mm-hmm. That they trust.
Yep.
They have high praise for.
Yep.
Are you going to get rid of your coach? No. So it's either, hey, listen to the coach, what he wants, and rather than scrap it and go look for another quarterback, which we all know is like a roll of dice.
Well, that was going to be my point. Who's
Yeah.
better?
It's
Like, if you've got Brock Purdy,
Who has proven himself?
who are you going to get that's better?
no, you don't, and even if you thought about getting, say, a high caliber, like maybe Aaron Rodgers.
No.
Besides him, yeah, I know. Besides being like, say, if you did this 5 years ago, bring Aaron Rodgers in.
Okay, 5 years
Yeah.
ago, it might have been worth it.
Yeah. So, but you've got somebody that knows the system well and is a smart kid that can do it. So, exactly. Why roll the dice in finding another quarterback and then also paying maybe even a steeper price?
Yeah.
When you got the guy right in the system or in the locker room. So,
I mean, I agree. I think he's been a starting quarterback. Is this his third year now? Third or fourth?
Yeah.
Ish, somewhere in
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
I mean, like you said, he's been your starter for at least 3 years. You obviously don't have anybody better on your roster.
Nope.
Are you trading for anybody better? Probably not.
they may have thought of the idea with, what's his name from Boise State that they end up trading to the Dallas Cowboys. Remember that was high.
Kellen Moore.
No, not Kellen Moore. He's the offensive coordinator. Who's with the Cowboys? That was supposed to be the next big thing. What's his name?
I don't know. I get my Boise
Now I'm
State
getting-
quarterbacks confused.
All right, team, go for it.
don't
It's
even
we're gonna
know where to
we're
look
going to
for that.
we're going to slap ourselves silly
I'm
for
not
that.
because I don't care.
I don't care.
Like, look, the list of Boise State quarterbacks that I'm
My give a shit's broken.
That's exactly how I am when you start reeling off Boise State quarterbacks. There was a Kellen something.
There was a Kellen Moore, and he's an offensive coordinator.
Okay, so he was a Boise State quarterback? Mm-hmm. Okay, that is the same guy. All right, I didn't know. Like I said, I don't pay attention to Boise State.
They made that
Statue of Liberty play against Oklahoma. Yeah.
I can't believe it. It's my God.
No, it's not.
Yeah, it's Trey Lance. Trey Lance.
Trey Lance.
Right.
Yeah. Who cares?
Team Ramrod. Yeah.
No, not that one. This one. Okay. Just wanting to know where it was.
Okay.
Oh yeah. That's the sound
We're
of the
at an
sound.
hour and 25
He's now
minutes.
with the Chargers.
But
Did you know that?
it's been the best hour and 25 minutes of your week
That's
so far.
what he's now with the
I would not
Chargers.
say
I
that.
didn't know. And he wasn't with Boise State. He was North Dakota State.
See, North Dakota
Yeah,
State.
God, we would have got it then.
You weren't even right.
Oh, man. And I'm not the one drinking bourbon over here. All right, let's get out of here.
Maybe you should.
For Tim Beeman, Bijan Todd, and Everett Hot Top Tie College, you guys could be anywhere in the world, but you're here with us. You ain't got to go home, but you got to get the heck up out of here. We'll see you next week on Fan Interference.
The views and opinions of this podcast are solely those of the contributors and not necessarily those of our distributors or hosting company. This podcast is copyrighted, and no material from this podcast can be used or reproduced without the expressed written permission of the Less Desirables Network and Such Limited Incorporated.